Hello and welcome everyone to this Adobe Technical Communication webinar. We are talking about the Industry Survey 2022 that Adobe conducted this year and the current and future state of technical communications and the key findings that we discovered in this survey. With me in the room is my colleague Saibal. Hi Saibal.
Hi Stefan, thank you so much for having me, and it's a real pleasure to be here, and super excited to be sharing some of the key findings from our recent Adobe Tech Comm Global Survey with everyone.
Awesome. I'm the Senior Worldwide Evangelist for Technical Communication, and I will host this webinar together with my colleague Saibal, and we will walk you through the findings. Saibal, before we go into the details of it, can you tell us a little bit about the context of this survey?
Absolutely. While the events of 2020, the pandemic, accelerated the evolution of how, where, and what we use to create, manage, and consume content, the actual technical communication industry was already undergoing a profound shift. I mean, organizations are reevaluating age-old methodologies and tools in favor of new age solutions that are better suited to meet the authoring, collaboration, and publishing needs of today and tomorrow. And to generate an up-to-date snapshot of this ever-changing landscape, Adobe regularly surveys content and technical documentation professionals around the world. This is an exercise that we do once every couple of years when we reach out to technical communication professionals worldwide and ask them what are the challenges they are facing, what are their opinions on new and emerging trends, how are they making an impact with their enterprise content. And once we find the responses, we sit down and analyze the responses, and then we obviously want to share that with the industry at large to help decision makers make informed choices that drive business success. So that's the context of the 2022 Global Tech Comm Survey.
Awesome. So let me walk you through the agenda that we have for today. We will first look a little bit at the audience demographics, and then we will find that style-based authoring is still a favorite, which is a little bit surprising in 2022. But we will also see that Microsoft Word adoption is on the decline. So other authoring formats are becoming more popular, and Microsoft Word as a classic text writing application is going down in adoption in the technical communication field. We will also talk about the challenges that people face in today's technical communication scenarios, and creating and publishing content is one of the challenges that people still have today. And review and collaboration is a major pain point, and that probably became even more important during the COVID-19 pandemic, with a lot of people being in the home office, which made review and collaboration processes a little bit more difficult. And we will also talk about the output formats that people create, and we will see that PDF still takes the cake. And one other challenge that we will see people are facing is content reuse. People say it's essential, it's super important for us for many reasons, like cost savings, consistency, etc. But it's also very difficult. And we will talk about the measures of success in customer satisfaction, or customer satisfaction is one of the key factors that is driving technical communicators. And at the end, we will talk a little bit about the future of technical communication. So let's start with that first agenda point, the survey audience, and we will look a little bit at the demographics of that. Saibal, can you guide us a little bit about what kind of people we interviewed and how it spread across the world?
Absolutely. So as you can see on the slide, we reached out to more than 700 plus industry professionals from 50 plus countries and 30 plus industry verticals. We asked all of them a set of 20 questions. As you can see, 65% of the respondents are from North America, 8% from Europe, and about 25% from Asia Pacific. In terms of industries, obviously, lots of industries were represented, but the one that stood out as the maximum contributor was the software and services space, the technology software space, where 35% of the respondents came from there. And also in terms of enterprise, mid-market, and SMB segmentation, 34% of the respondents are from enterprises. Mid-market is about 12%, and 44% are from SMBs. And as you can see, it's not a survey that just went out to Adobe users. 65% of the people who took the survey said that they are not currently using any Adobe tools. So it's a holistic picture of the industry, so to say.
Interesting. This is a good point to mention that we also have a white paper of the survey findings, which is a little bit more comprehensive than what we show here today. You will be able to download this white paper as a registered participant, and we will include that the link to that in the post-webinar email that we send out with the recording. Style-based authoring, Saibal. That is still a favorite. Why do you think it's still so popular, and what are the alternatives, and how is that spread across the different authoring formats that people are using today? What is one of the most popular, maybe non-Microsoft Word formats that we have today?
Yeah, this is really interesting because we obviously have been tracking the increase in adoption of structured authoring, and we expect the structured authoring adoption to grow at a certain rate. However, as you rightly said, it's very interesting that style-based authoring, which is obviously non-structured, non-XML, non-data, that continues to be a leading choice amongst technical communication professionals. Now, one thing to note, of course, is that there is an overlap of XML and structured and data-based authoring and style-based authoring in organizations. It's not that an organization which is doing style-based authoring is not doing XML or data at all. So we need to just keep that in mind. But even if we look at a global scenario, I've been part of this space, the technical content management space, for more than a decade now. And the rate at which structured authoring has grown globally in the last decade is about 3.5%. But if we look at North America specifically, and I was looking at some of our 2018 and 2020 survey data while preparing for the 2022 webinar, I noticed that in North America specifically, structured authoring has been growing at a CAGR of almost 20% if you just look at the last 4 years. So in 2018, 34% of respondents in North America had said they are using structured authoring. And in 2022, if we just look at North America, almost 70% of the respondents said that they are doing structured authoring. So that's very interesting for me, which clearly states that North America is leading the pack when it comes to move towards structured authoring. And when we looked at just the enterprise segment, because that's where we believe heavy investments happen in tools, technologies for the future, even in enterprises, style-based authoring was actually 45%, whereas structured was 40%, which tells me that while there is a definite move or shift towards tools that offer structured authoring capabilities, style-based authoring, which probably is being done by Microsoft Word, still continues to remain in pockets, even in large enterprises.
Interesting. Probably that also includes tools like Adobe InDesign, for example, which is usually non-XML based as well, but also sort of unstructured classic authoring, right? And we have also formats like Markdown. And I found that interesting because that Markdown is when you're in the technical communication field and go to conferences and listen to webinars. And so you get the impression that Markdown is really heavily used. But our survey here showed that only 7% of the people actually use Markdown as an authoring format. That's one additional finding I found very interesting here, which is often the thing that of personal perception of things and then actual numbers coming out of such a survey. Let's talk about, or let's look at the tools that people are using to create technical documentation. Saibal, what is the finding there in this survey?
Yeah, this is very interesting, and obviously we look at this data very closely because we are in the business of creating tools for content creation, management, and publishing. As you can see, and we compared 2022 survey data with 2020. We went back and compared the survey responses. And what's interesting is Microsoft Word still continues to be close to 50% in terms of respondents adopting it. However, it has come down comparatively since 2020. As you can see, 8 percentage point dip. In 2020, 56% respondents said they were using Word. In 2022, that percentage number has come down to 48. And it also indicates an increase in adoption for FrameMaker and RoboHelp, which are specialist tools in the content creation category. And the percentage points are there in front of you. FrameMaker 34%, RoboHelp 26%. And we were trying to think of the possible reasons for this. One, obviously, as we were discussing, is the move to structure. When you move towards XML data, obviously Microsoft Word becomes a challenge. Also, the need to single source content and publish to multiple channels, and not just mobile, web, desktop, and print. We are now talking about content being made available via chatbots, augmented reality, Industry 4.0, IoT devices. Now, the moment you're looking to single source and then you're looking at omni-channel publishing, move to a specialist tool is also to an advantage. And similarly, the need for sophisticated content reuse to reduce localization time and costs. These are some of the parameters that we believe is driving this gradual shift of content writers, content developers moving away from generalist text editors like Word to specialist tools like FrameMaker and RoboHelp.
Yeah. And Saibal, one thing I found, and that we have to look a little bit closer at these data points here that I found very interesting in this slide. Because on the very right side of the slide, you see the 2020 data points. We were talking about Microsoft Word, but let's have a quick look at Adobe FrameMaker and RoboHelp here as well. We see that there's a increase in adoption of 8% for FrameMaker and 12% growth for Adobe RoboHelp. But if we look at or compare these data points, there are 40% Adobe RoboHelp, and now it's 26% RoboHelp. What happened in these last years? Why is RoboHelp seeing such an increase in the market adoption? Why it's so successful currently?
I think the credit goes to the product team. Adobe RoboHelp was completely rewritten ground up from scratch as a tool. It's now a super modern UI driven, modern interaction driven tool, which is easier for newcomers to adopt. The learning curve has been reduced significantly. I believe some of those reasons, the entire overhaul of the product that the engineering and product team undertook, I think is one of the key reasons why we are seeing an increase in the adoption of RoboHelp recently.
Yeah, still a long way to surpass Microsoft Word as the major authoring tool. But when we look at Microsoft Word being still the #1 authoring tool, that might in a way also explain what we see in this slide, and that's the challenges in content development that people face. Maybe one reason for all these challenges is that they are still using a tool like Microsoft Word, which is just not made for all these things. Saibal, let's walk a little bit through the major challenges that technical communicators see in content development today. I see maintaining a single source of truth is the major challenge that people have, right?
Absolutely, absolutely, and this is not surprising at all. And this pain, we believe, is becoming more and more acute as content update cycles shrink due to increase in the speed of product and service innovation that we are seeing, and also due to the more stringent needs for regulatory compliance in several industries. So your content really needs to be maintained at a single source so that it's 100% accurate, consistent across all channels at all times. And also, we will deep dive into the review and collaboration area specifically in the next slide. But you can see it's, some of these challenges in terms of converting existing content and lack of content reuse being available. All of these are very, very core to the content development life cycle. And that's also could be one of the reasons, Stefan, why we are seeing that uh, because of these considerations becoming more and more central to content management, there's a gradual move happening towards specialist tools, solutions, platforms, even CCMSs, content management systems, so to say, which address many of these challenges, which our general tools today are unable to, support.
Yeah, that's interesting that you mentioned CCMS here. Just a quick teaser here. We're not talking about much about this in this webinar. We have other webinars, and Adobe did well for that. But Adobe also has a component content management system, which was called XML documentation for Adobe Experience Manager in the past, and is just rebranded at DITA to Adobe Experience Manager Guides. That's a DITA, DITA component content management system that sits on top of Adobe Assets and Adobe Experience Manager and allows content authors to author content, review content, and publish content to a lot of output channels. Has translation management built in, has online review functionalities where you can collaborate on content together built in, and you can plug in authoring tools like Adobe FrameMaker or Oxygen, or use the built-in web editor to author data content and collaborate with your authors. But enough about that. We want to have a look at one of the major challenges with content review that people have. Saibal, let's have a look at that. What are these challenges in content review specifically that people have?
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's a nice segue from the previous slide, because in the previous slide also, you would have noticed the second ranked challenge was inefficient review and collaboration. 39% respondents in the previous slide said that inefficient review and collaboration workflows hamper content development at speed and scale. What we need to understand is, Stefan, globally distributed teams is a modern reality. With the pandemic accelerating the need for efficient and effective collaboration among multi-author, multi-reviewer teams spread across remote locations and different time zones, seeking, receiving, assimilating, and incorporating feedback from subject matter experts has become a real challenge. And we see this here in this slide also, where 20% of the respondents are saying that they find it difficult to get timely and actionable feedback from subject matter experts. What this means is content writers probably need tools and systems to enable subject matter experts to easily share feedback from wherever they are and from whatever tool they prefer to use. And also notifications about feedback received from subject matter experts ideally should be real time. And content writers, at the end of it all, should be able to easily locate and then either accept or reject feedback received from the subject matter experts to close the review cycles quickly.
Yeah, and, maybe there's You mentioned time zones with globally distributed team. That's probably one of these reasons. I could imagine that there's another reason also for that, and that is that people often in the past they often send around PDFs by email, waiting for review, and maybe even forget that this review is running because they have so many other projects running. And at one point they notice, oh, I still need the review from my colleague on this specific document. Where is it? Did I already get that? And it's a little bit of a mess often. And a system like a component content management system can help people with that by automatically sending emails out, sending out email reminders to the review contributors, like, oh, your review is due tomorrow and you still haven't started it yet, so please get into action with that. These kind of automations in processes can also help to get actionable and actionable feedback from the subject matter experts better on time, and that's something to look at for many enterprises as well, I think. Let's look at the publishing formats adoption and the change compared to 2020. We have the 2020 data points here in the lower right of that slide again. Let's have a look at these. What is still the major publishing format that people are creating, Saibal?
Yeah, this is also very interesting, where we see that almost 82% of our survey respondents said that they are still publishing to PDF. Now, the percentage numbers have come down from 2020, where 90% respondents said that they were publishing to PDF. There has been an increase in the adoption of responsive HTML5, but the rate at which we expected HTML5 to increase in adoption, that hasn't happened. It's right now at 51% compared to 47% 2 years back. And this clearly, and of course, there are the other formats which are there, the data points are there in front of you. But this clearly suggests, Stefan, that the whole paradigm of publishing has shifted from static to dynamic. Earlier, the whole how and where of publishing was about whether I have published a PDF, whether I have content available as HTML, whether it is printable, whether it is downloadable. And now that has changed. Now the how and where is about text, videos, 2D, 3D, self-service portals, in-product help, in-app helps, IoT, AR, VR. The entire paradigm has shifted. And with that, the need to keep your content always up to date, easily findable, personalized, on demand, shareable, interactive. Some of these are pressing needs of today. And that's the reason why we see some of these changes in the publishing format adoption also.
Yeah. One question regarding this, maybe you remember it from the survey, was that one choice question where you said, I'm publishing to PDF or to responsive HTML5 or to knowledge bases, or was it a multiple choice question where people could select multiple output formats?
This was a multiple choice question because obviously in any organization, content writers would be publishing to more than one format. So respondents could choose as many of the formats that they wanted to.
Okay, we already talked about challenges that people are facing, publishing content, reviewing content, etc. There's another big challenge that people face in today's technical communication world, and that is content reuse. What's the challenge with that, Saibal?
Oh, this is absolutely, and this is something that has been there for ages now, and it's becoming more acute as the volume of content increases across organizations. I mean, ideally, content reuse as a concept is simple, right? Content reuse is a way of using the same or similar pieces of content in several places. It allows technical writers to create common pieces of information once in one place. And then that common content can be embedded in lots of different documents or topics. This means that when the content needs to be updated, it can be changed in one place only. And that change will then apply automatically wherever that content is served and used. That's the basic concept. And it's not surprising to see that almost half of the respondents said that there is no clear organization-wide standard content reuse strategy. And that creates a challenge. If people can't find the reusable content, they will recreate it, which goes against the whole purpose of content reuse. And then there are challenges like people changing reused content to suit their purposes without considering the other places where that content might appear. People including links in reusable content. It's fine to include links if you are certain that the target of the link will always be included in the finished document, but that's not always the case. And because of this, Stefan, we see a steady and rapid increase in adoption of concepts like topic reuse. Many modern technical or content development tools use a topic-based approach today, which means that content is being written in lots of individual chunks or topics rather than one big file. Similarly, you'll hear about snippets, snippets of content, which are getting created. The idea is that you create your usable content in a separate location in the case of a snippet to your actual content. The snippet could actually be a file or entry in a database, and then it gets incorporated into your larger content piece. So because of this need to reuse content, and there not being any organization-wide strategy driving that content reuse, we see a lot of our survey respondents saying that they struggle to efficiently find and reuse content.
And that's for me also one of the most interesting facts in this slide. The major challenge is not the actual content reuse, but the major challenge is strategy and bringing that to corporate level, to an enterprise level. And that is something you hear often from technical communicators, that is we are not part of a larger strategy of our company. And this is something, and remember the Forrester survey that we talked about a couple of weeks back, Saibal, that is also what the Forrester survey brought out, that they say one major thing that CMOs and CIOs also say is we don't have a global standardized content strategy, not only content reuse strategy, but just a content strategy. And this nicely fits together that on the one hand, the C-level, C-suite executives say we don't have that, and we recognize that as a challenge. And now that's what came out in the Forrester survey. And now that claim is also backed up by this industry survey where a lot of technical communicators are participating. So this completes the whole story for me, that it's a thing that companies, enterprises really need to tackle on a C-level and think about a global content reuse and content strategy across all the departments and sections of their business units. That is something enterprises really need to look at. And it's backed up by these two sites now from the Forrester and the industry survey here, the Adobe industry survey. Interesting enough. Saibal, we are closely coming to the end, but before that, we want to talk about success metrics for technical content. Please walk us a little bit about what our survey respondents told us about what their success metrics for technical content are, or what they see as the most important success metrics.
Yeah, this is a very, very favorite topic of mine, this is a field of research that has existed for many years now, where maybe a couple of decades back, when technical communication was perceived to be a cost center, Now that is changing. Now it's more of a profit center. It's clear that there are tangible, quantifiable, measurable business impact that your business content or technical content has on the business. And it's great to see that reduction in customer support calls, chats, or emails is now directly attributed to the quality and availability and consistency of technical content. Uh, However, rather than just tying technical content to the post-sale phase and finding metrics in the post-sale or post-purchase phase, I see a clear shift in the phases of the customer journey where technical content is now playing a role. Let's take the discovery or choosing phase for products and services. When a business is trying to nurture prospects, there technical content can play a role in educating and guiding their choices. Consider a phase where you have just acquired a software and you're installing and configuring it. There, technical content can play a role in accelerating time to production, reduce implementation costs. Then comes the actual usage phase where people are using products and services. There, technical content can help improve product stickiness, can increase upsell and cross-sell opportunities. And then, of course, you come to the standard post-purchase, maintain and fix phase, where technical content clearly has an impact on enhanced customer support, reduction in time to resolution. For example, we were doing a business value study that IDC is conducting with some of our AEM guides customers, and we saw that their reduction in inbound tech support cases was obviously a key metric that was being tracked. But apart from that, improvement in support agent productivity was another metric, and there was significant improvement in reduction in employee search time, reduction in issue resolution time, increases in first-time resolutions happening, and also increases in number of tickets handled per agent. And these are real, hard, quantifiable business metric that technical documentation department can report back to the business. So that's really, really encouraging for me to see. And I hope that this transition of what the scope of impact of technical content is, that will move more and more from just the post-purchase phase to even the pre-purchase phase.
Yeah, and to put that in a simple formula, better content means happier customers and less costs for the enterprise.
Absolutely.
That's a short summary of that, I would say. We're coming to the end, Saibal. Our time is running out for this webinar, but I would like to talk about the future of technical communication with you. And we also asked people in this survey about the trends for smarter tomorrow. Let's have a look at that. What are the key findings there, Saibal?
Yeah, this was very interesting and not a surprise for us to see almost 60% of survey respondents saying that merging video tutorials with technical content is the way forward. And this is something that we have been seeing and noticing and experiencing all around us. I mean, traditional forms of technical communication have kind of struggled at times to capture a user's attention. It is not difficult to understand why users would be overwhelmed to refer to a lengthy user guide or a help manual to find the exact assistance they are looking for. In an era where information is constantly exploding from both offline and online sources, the task of reading yet another text-based help document is understandably tedious at times. And this is backed by data, actually. As information developers devise new ways to present useful technical content, the trends are clear in terms of A Nielsen study a couple of years back in the United States reported, Stefan, that adults in the US spent nearly 6 hours per day watching videos. Similar, another study recently that I came across shows that people absorb, process, and recall information differently. However, the largest part of the population, 65%, they learn through visuals. So it's only logical that creating and mixing and merging video content in tutorials is the way forward. And when we talk about video in the context of technical communication, what does it mean? It means to screencasting, screen capture, screen recording that tools like Adobe Captivate allows. It means interactive software simulations, where simulation videos replicate how to work on a software along with interactive features, where users have to press buttons, enter data, select options, and so on. And then, of course, there are video tutorials where both screen recording and interactive software simulation videos can be used to produce a series of short videos such as video tutorials. So this is absolutely something that we'll see more and more in the future. But just other than that, one thing that stood out for me amongst these data points, Stefan, was that nearly 1/3 of the respondents said that assisted or guided authoring powered by artificial intelligence or machine learning is something that would drive the future, which tells me that the tools will probably need to become intelligent to suggest, or preempt content as it is being written based on AI-based findings and trends. So that's very interesting, that assisted or guided authoring where AI and ML will play a part in the future.
I think that's one of the major trends. I personally see that as one of the major trends coming up. Of course, video tutorials, for me, that's not surprising that people see that as a trend. It has been a trend for a long time. Localization and translation are always a topic because people often publish their documentation in 20, 30, 40 languages or even more. But AI and machine learning is one of the things I think will really grow big and fast over the next couple of years. We see that in Adobe Experience Manager, for example, where a lot of AI is built in with Adobe Sensei, our AI engine, and we even see it in the technical communication coming up with what we call smart tagging, where content is tagged by the AI engine and tags, for example, for SEO optimization, but also for internal finding of content, is applied and suggested to a topic and suggested to the author, and the author can then use the suggestions from the AI engine from Adobe Sensei to tag content for better findability, for example. And one other big change, and we see it coming up at the bottom of this chart here, is IoT and Industry 4.0 scenarios. That is definitely something we will see growing in the next surveys, probably even more. And we see that from presentations at Adobe Data World, from leading companies who already have started thinking about it, or have even implemented some of these things and make technical communication content available, for example, in machines to gather data information about when is my next maintenance cycle. That information is present in the technical documentation, and the machine is pulling that information from the documentation. Or we see other companies looking like automotive companies looking into making content available in the cars, in the head-up display of the car, like VW and so. So there are a lot of things going on in the market with Industry 4.0 and IoT, and I'm sure it will grow over the next years as well. And with that final statement of mine, thank you, Saibal, so much for being with us today. And feel free to reach out to us with any questions at techcom@adobe.com. And as you can see on that slide, and I already mentioned that earlier in this webinar today, we have a Forrester study available as now. I will put the link in the chat because you cannot click that read now button here on the slide, but it's a study that Adobe conducted with Forrester. Maybe, Saibal, 1 or 2 words about that study that might be interesting for our audience today as well.
Absolutely. So this was a study that Adobe commissioned and Forrester conducted, where Forrester interviewed 450 odd senior decision makers in large enterprises globally to understand their content management challenges and priorities. So it's a global study. It's freely available for download on the Adobe website. Please go visit and download it, and you'll see some of those findings are backed up by our recent survey also, which just validates the findings.
Awesome. Great, Saibal. And with that, we close this webinar. Thanks everyone for attending us and being with us today. And thank you, Saibal, for being my guest today in this webinar. And I hope you found these findings interesting. Maybe they match your expectations about what the future of technical communication is and what the current state of technical communication is. Or maybe they also brought up some interesting new data points for you, and you can go back to your work and to your management maybe and talk with them about that as well. Again, all these things are available in the white paper that we have of that that presentation here. It's a little bit more comprehensive. It has more data points in there. It explains the audience a little bit deeper, and a couple of other things like analytics of content and measuring content are in the white paper as well that we didn't cover today because we wanted to keep that webinar a little bit shorter and more fun for you. So, and with that, thanks everyone again. And Saibal, thank you for being my guest today.
Thank you.